This 11-story hotel is unlike anything Melbourne has ever seen. With an amazing rooftop bar and gathering space, incredible conference facilities, and of course, amazing guest rooms and suites like this one. So if you have friends and family coming to town for a visit, or want to go out and enjoy downtown Melbourne's great restaurants, bars, and shopping for a night or two, Hotel Melby is the place to be. Hello and welcome back to the 411 on the 321. Tales, Tenets, and Tips from Space Coast Business Leaders, brought to you by the Melbourne Regional Chamber. I'm your host, Mel Thomas, and I'm excited as always to join you today from the beautiful Hotel Melby, downtown Melbourne. We have three very special guests today talking all about philanthropy. First is Miss Ellen Winter, Chief Philanthropy Officer at the Brevard Zoo. Next, my friend Theresa Grimison, President and CEO at the Community Foundation for Brevard. And last but certainly not least, Miss Linda May. Linda is the co-chair of the Aquarium Campaign Cabinet and also Director Emeritus at the Community Foundation. Welcome all three of you. This is going to be amazing. I really can't wait. So we're going to be right back with Ellen, Theresa, and Linda after a few words from our champion sponsor, Hedrick Brothers Construction Space Coast.
Since 1979, Hedrick Brothers Construction has been delivering quality construction for the commercial and luxury residential markets of South Florida. In 2020, a team of two expanded into the Space Coast region and opened an office here in Melbourne. 3 years later, the team's grown to over a dozen professionals, working on large, local projects and investing in our community. The sky's the limit for the Hedrick team. Get to know them. You'll be glad you did.
Welcome back and welcome, ladies. I'm so excited to have this conversation all about philanthropy, and I love the tie-ins that each of you have to each other. So I thought I'd just get it started. Ellen, we'll just start with you. You're right here. Can you tell us all about you and how you got started in philanthropy, your role right now?
So I was born and raised in Brazil, third world country, and I grew up in an environment where poverty was the norm. And personally, I knew that I wanted to do more with my career and make a difference. Although I went to school to learn business and marketing, I started at the corporate world and realized that I wanted to do something close to the heart that made a difference, and it was create an impact in the community or the world. So I transitioned to the nonprofit world really early in my career and have been doing it for about 20 years. And I moved to Brevard about 2 years ago to lead our campaign for the Aquarium, Brevard Zoo. And it always started with me visiting the zoo with my two daughters and fell in love with the organization. Went home and did some research and learned that the zoo was starting a campaign and they needed somebody to lead the campaign. And that was my career. So it was very serendipity.
Yes. And I'm sure you can still rely on that business and that marketing and all of that you bring with you as well. So it wasn't a totally lost degree like my English one. So congratulations.
I'll tell my dad that.
Yeah, tell mine too. So Theresa, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to philanthropy.
Sure. Thanks, Mel. And how lucky are we that these two women are in our community and in the world and business of philanthropy. I feel so fortunate to be working with them. But as I entered my career, I followed the advice of my parents, which was do what you love. And the origin of my family was really centered in duty, honor, country through my father's career, as well as the golden rule. I think that all of us know. So I like to say that, I guess I'll mention that I have an undergraduate degree in art history. So there was a question mark over there, right? As well as an MBA. But I like to think that I have a public service heart from that origin story, but that I bring a private sector approach to the work. And the Community Foundation, just to explain it a little bit, really exists to make it easy for people to be philanthropists. We build funds to help the changing needs of our community over time. And that's all to create a community where we hope that everyone has the chance to thrive. So it's a little bit about me, a little bit about us.
Lovely. All right, Linda, so you are a philanthropist. So I'm glad we're going to get your perspective on this as well. Can you tell us your background and what led you to be a philanthropist?
Growing up, Indiana, moving here, 1979 actually, really wasn't that involved prior to coming here. And I have been blessed by meeting many people, including these two ladies, that have gotten me involved, but primarily my calling is helping other people. It comes naturally. I connect very easily with people. And because of that, I'm open to what the needs are all around us, sometimes to a fault. But I work hard at it. And yet it's a gift, not only to others, but to myself.
I think that's really inspiring. And while you've got the microphone, I thought I would just ask you, there are so many worthwhile causes here in Brevard alone. I'm just mind blown by all the amazing nonprofits. And of course, everywhere has got deserving organizations. How do you personally choose who to get involved with, who to invest with? Do you have a strategy behind it? Is it tugging on your heartstrings?
Tugs.
Okay.
I look at their mission.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the impact, and I look who's involved. That says a lot to me. I've been blessed by people approaching me, and I have answered the call on some, and yet I have to set boundaries because of the limited impact that you can make with so many. When I was involved with Community Foundation on the board, I learned so much then about how many nonprofits we have.
It's mind-boggling.
So many organizations.
And they're great.
So many needs. Love them. So there's lots of opportunities.
Nice. Okay, so let's just segue into Theresa's board. Theresa, if we could ask you, Ellen's such an inspiration. How do you inspire maybe somebody who has not been involved in philanthropy yet? How do you get them involved and let them know why that's important?
It's a good question. I think as we walk on our own journey right through life, and you live and breathe it, and people join you along the way, to be honest, I don't know if I have a bigger strategy than that, right? I will say I've noticed over a 30-year career that people come into it for different reasons. And I think there's a strong tradition of philanthropy in the United States. Many people step into it because of a faith or spiritually based or even in cultural tradition of it. Many people walk through our doors to realize the tax benefits of it, and that's fine too. I always say, there's no judgment there, right? And I've seen people throw themselves into it after walking through that way. But what I think at its core is something that touches on a little bit of what Linda just mentioned, is that many people that we work with really see the potential in others, and they see the potential in the community, and they want to help invest in that and advance it forward.
Nice.
That's the through line, I think, for most.
Okay. So with the Community Foundation, I always think collaboration. Like that just comes to mind when I think about your organization. So I'll stay with you just for a second, but I want to ask you this question too, Ellen. Talk to me about community partnerships, collaboration, why they're so important to your organization. I mean, we're looking at a great collaboration here right now. And how do you use them?
So we think a lot about the proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And I think there's so many different ways that you can look at that. We do a lot of work that's intergenerational, and, working with our elders, working with our young people. There's just so much promise and magic when those two intersect. We, as a grant maker and as a partner ourselves to so many, really value deeply when others are working with others. There's many times that people or even organizations think, I'll go it alone. This is my idea, and I'm going to, and to be honest with you, it's just, it's not as impactful, not even close, than working together. Okay. Right. So the Community Foundation works with organizations that we grant to, organizations like the zoo that hold endowments with us, all kinds of people, businesses, families, individuals. We also step into some critical causes and initiatives and ask folks, right, to partner with us. And that's the way we get there. Is it easy? Is it fast? No, right? But that's life. It's the constant putting one foot in front of the other. It's the practice of it. It's the journey together. And we couldn't be more proud and pleased to have the relationship we do with the zoo and the aquarium. And I'll talk more about that maybe later, but.
Yeah,
Over
Ellen,
to
maybe
you.
you could just expand on the same question. How are you using these? I mean, you've got a lot going on. How are you using these community collaborations?
We do a lot with our community, and and we certainly just want to expand and do more. I know when I started my role, my first thing I try to do is just to meet the leaders of other nonprofit organizations to really have a sense of what they do and how can we do more together. I look at our education programs at the zoo, and it's so wonderful and so strong. But we also know there are many youth that are not able to come to the zoo and have access to nature and some of our wonderful programs. So for us, it was very important to expand our programs and take the programs to them. So we have partnered with multiple nonprofit organizations, Boys and Girls Clubs, to make sure that every child in Brevard County have access to some of our really fun and exciting programs and learn how to save the lagoon, how to protect our environment, how to do better than my generation did, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's really important to us. And one really large effort that we have created recently was when it comes to the aquarium, when we looked at this conservation hub that we wanted to create, we wanted everybody to have access to it. We wanted to be open to the public, and we really wanted to bring the community together. The more research I did of how many individuals are trying to save the lagoon, from seagrass to oysters, well, how much more could we do if we could bring all of them together and learn from the good and the bad and some experience that we have already tried. So we named the Conservation Hub after Dr. Dwayne DeFries.
All right, let's talk about him. Why was that important?
Well, Dwayne is just a champion for the lagoon, and he's probably one of the most incredible individuals that we have ever met.
I use the term like rock star whenever I think of him.
Rock star is amazing. Yeah. And I don't think anybody in this community makes a decision when it comes to the lagoon without calling Dwayne.
Right.
And even when I was fundraising for it, before we had named after him, every funder that I talked to mentioned his name. So it was only natural, and obviously Keith and Dwayne are very close friends too. And when we proposed to our board, they were all in. They couldn't think of any way to honor his legacy and everything that he has done for our community. Calling it the Dr. Dwayne DeFries Conservation Center.
Very important.
Mel, can I expound on
Absolutely
the subject of collaboration and,
Yes,
and our work
yes,
together and the
yes.
lagoon? And, I get the question occasionally, not too often, but just enough, that someone has asked me, this aquarium initiative, does that impact you, in a negative way is the question, right? Because of what we do. And the answer is no.
You
it
mean
actually lifts
dividing your
all of us.
donors almost?
Correct.
Okay.
That and we hear that in our world a little bit. It absolutely doesn't. It really helps us deliver on what we do and allows people to really invest in what the vision, for the future in our community. So, for example, Ellen was just talking about their conservation work around the lagoon. Just the other day, was able to deliver with a couple who's interested in including the zoo's conservation work in their legacy plan.
Nice.
And that allows us to do what we do is bring people to those really important projects. And we know that the zoo is convening the best out there, right? Dr. DeFries, the Marine Resources Council, the various groups that are focused on that, and they're best in class in terms of being able to pull that kind of group together.
Right.
So that's how it also is helpful for us and why we believe so strongly in collaboration.
Right. And I think that the aquarium project is unique as well. It's not just going to be a tourist attraction. Like you mentioned, there are going to be school children that would never have experienced that, and all of the exposure and everything it's going to do for the community as a whole. And I don't think people necessarily understand that, how important it's going to be. And it's going to be a game changer. So I agree with you.
A regional game changer,
Yes.
frankly.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. To that.
I have a whole section for you, Linda. Promise you, we're not leaving you
No,
out.
I'm going to jump ahead a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
do it.
Go ahead and answer a question.
Yeah.
To your point and your question about collaboration, I get really excited when we're talking about the aquarium and the conservation hub. There's so many people that connect with that as we're out trying to educate people and letting them know what's coming to Brevard. So in that regard, we put together what we call the cabinet.
Yes.
Campaign Cabinet,
yes.
which collaborates with surrounding counties, getting them involved. And we've put together a group of leaders to help us raise those funds and awareness making connections to help this happen. As you know, I'm co-chair of that. Very excited to be a part of that. And I find that the more we talk about it, the more collaboration there is. I mean, it's happening. And, it's spurred on by so many.
Yeah, it's exponential.
Absolutely. So
Well,
that
bravo
word
to
really
you.
spoke to me on collaboration, because that's what we're all about.
I mean, that's the definition of your campaign cabinet, right?
Absolutely.
Collaboration. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awareness, advocacy.
Yes.
I love it. Well, since you've got the microphone, I'm curious if maybe could you share an example or a success story of some past philanthropy that you've been involved in, why it warmed you, why it was important?
We're talking specifically about Community Foundation, the zoo, which I've been a part of both, still am. And we all hear stories. We want to see the impact, as I mentioned in the beginning. And I'll never, ever, ever forget a story that a young man told me. He looked up at me at a board meeting one day and said, "You all saved my life." And that really spoke to me in terms of sometimes you don't think that you're making that much of a difference. And you are, regardless what you're involved in. People are counting on you. People, sometimes it's silent, but that young man spoke up, and he propelled me to continue in that regard, helping that particular nonprofit. So that's
Beautiful.
yeah.
What a lovely story. I forgot to tell you there was one rule on this show that you can't make me cry because it's ugly and bulbous and it's just terrible.
You want
I'm
one
close.
more?
No, I'm good. I got the
All right.
goosebumpies, but
Okay.
yeah, we're good. We're good.
All right.
Well, let me ask you your why. Why Community Foundation? Why Brevard Zoo? Like we said, there's so many deservings. Why was it for you?
My husband and I are a founder of the zoo, so it goes way back. We're really invested. And as time went on, I was asked to be more involved. So I joined the movement for the aquarium. And then since then, I'm on the board. And since then, the co-chair. So, I'm just, my husband and I are very involved. Community Foundation, to be honest, a leader in the community asked me to consider being a board member. I answered the call, and I'm very grateful that I had 10 years actually on that board and met a lot of great people.
What a great referral, Theresa, for a community leader to inspire another one just by making the ask. I mean, I think that's a testament to your leadership and your organization as well. You're welcome. So back to you and Ellen. Since COVID, what kind of trends are you seeing in philanthropy? Are we back to pre-COVID? Are we seeing, is it a whole new world?
Well, I think COVID really made individuals put things into perspective. I know I did with my family and, looked at our estate plans for, the very first time. And, I have 2 young children and really trying to realize what is our legacy, right? Why are we here and how do we make a difference? And we have seen more generous support since COVID, individuals who really want to make a difference and make sure that their legacy stays. And having those conversations with them, what is important to you, and how can we recognize you for your generosity? So really talking about impact, what your gift will be able to provide summer camp to 100 low-income youth, where we'll feed a giraffe for, 12 months, or would allow us to build a rehab sea turtle healing center at the aquarium. So really talking about impact and mission and what and how they can make a difference and change the world.
Right.
So that has been really impactful to us, just to be able to guide those conversations. And it has been a little shift of philanthropy from, especially in Brevard, from less of an event-based philanthropy to more what how would my dollars make a difference, and how
Right.
would that impact our
Like Linda
community
was saying,
or the future?
mission-driven.
Yes, absolutely,
Right.
and really the future generations, and also a lot of how do I honor my kids and my grandkids? I want to make sure that we have a very lovely donor whose name will be displayed at the aquarium, and it is something that they're excited to have their future
Yeah.
family members come in and visit the aquarium and see their family represented there.
Lovely. Well, you kind of hit on something, so I think we'll just segue right into it. You're talking about feeding a giraffe, also this long-term aquarium project. How do you balance, and anyone feel free to chime in, on the short-term needs of raising funds versus maybe a long-term strategic plan to get you where you need to go? How are you able to strategically work that into your philanthropy mission?
Well, first, I would say if you have met my executive director, Keith Winston.
Couple times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he basically says yes a lot in the community. And then he comes to our department and said, we need $2 million. How are we going to do this? But no, we have a strategic plan. The aquarium is massive. It's the largest campaign that we have had in Brevard County for $100 million. So that is the bigger picture. But the zoo, our theme is that we answer the call. And that comes with usually funding from our donors. Never have we thought about being involved with seagrass, and we had a wonderful donor that just came to us and here's a check. And we're like, no, we don't do seagrass. Here's 3 or 4 other organizations. Sure. And the donor was like, no, I trust the zoo. And we took the check and we learned how to do seagrass. And now we have a seagrass
and
nursery.
Talk about an urgent need right now.
Yes. Same thing with manatees. It's something that, we were watching the news. We knew the need. And, they came to the zoo and said, you guys need to start rehabbing manatees. And we look at different funding and we're able to secure a very generous $2 million gift. And now we are going to rehab manatees at the zoo. So I think for the short term, we do rely on funding. It's hard for us to try to do everything if we don't have the support.
Right.
But we also keep in mind the long term that, the aquarium is very, very large campaign. So we need to focus on that. But for us, doing the campaign was really important to make it into a comprehensive campaign.
Okay.
So it includes the zoo, just like the aquarium. And the beauty of it, that the more we start talking about the aquarium, the larger support we have received for the zoo, because we really now focus on the impact and the mission of the organization. And many people in our community didn't realize that the zoo is a nonprofit organization. We are a 501c3. Sometimes they think we're the Brevard County Zoo, but we rely on every single donor and membership and guests in order to be able to provide the programs that we have. So it was a really great way to tell the story of our mission and who we are and how we answer the call because of our generous donors.
Right. And why you're important here.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Linda, I'm wondering if somebody's watching or listening right now, and maybe they've never dipped their toe in philanthropy or haven't really thought about it, but I don't know, it's resonating. What's some advice you could give?
I would say listen to your gut. Okay. Now, that's easy for me. That may not be easy for everyone.
Okay.
But there are so many needs and there's so many opportunities to get involved as a volunteer. You will never be paid enough to what you can feel personally in your heart and knowing that you've made a difference.
Lovely. Also, to you, is there any particular part about any of the organizations that you're involved in that you're especially excited about something coming up?
The aquarium.
Yeah, that's the one.
Absolutely.
That seems to be the one for all of us. Yeah.
And let me reiterate, it's the conservation hub.
Mm-hmm.
It's all of us having an opportunity to have a community location where we can all go learn more about what we can do to help our waterways, the lagoon. It's transformational. And that is primarily the reason that I'm involved.
Lovely. Theresa, same for you. Are there any projects, any developments of the Community Foundation you're particularly excited to share?
Well, what I love about the Community Foundation is that it really touches just about every aspect of the human experience. And our board and our fund holders, or you can think of them as clients, right, are really setting a vision for us as an organization, but I think also for the community that really animates every single day. So, people like Linda, stakeholders like Ellen, and that's what honestly gets me jazzed every day. Obviously, the aquarium project is visionary, right? And it's going to change everything in such positive ways for all of us. So that's exciting. We've got some things going with homes and housing, working with some incredible people in our community, like just so insightful, genius level work that's going on there. We've got some things going with the arts that I'm excited about as well. Next generation really, stepping up for us as a community in that realm. So, it's all across the board.
And I think Ellen hinted at it earlier about that next generation and the educational piece that the aquarium is going to provide access. We talk about equity and inclusion a lot these days. Can you tell me why philanthropy is important to equity and inclusion?
Yeah, I can. It's a really important topic, and we could spend 30 minutes, just to dip into the surface of it, right? But where we are is we look at data and analysis, our networks, our knowledge of the community, right? And say, we need to reach everybody. We need to reach our most vulnerable communities and make sure that they have an opportunity to go through doors that they haven't been before, experience the lagoon, experience the beach, right? And we owe it to ourselves to make that possible for others. It's going to help all of us. And so that's what drives us there.
If you could just convey to our viewers, to our listeners, what the importance of philanthropy means to a community as a whole.
Yes, it's a great question. One thing I've learned really fast when I moved to Brevard is that this community is really like hands-on philanthropists. Like, they built a zoo, 17,000 people just came together with shovels and built a zoo, and they're willing to go above and beyond, to make things happen, from, hosting an event to a barbecue that they stand on the grill all day. The community has shifted, and we have evolved as an organization, and we have seen a little bit more of a philanthropic giving in addition to the hands-on support that we have recently had. But when I look at this aquarium, when I was told it was a $100 million campaign and it has never been done before in Brevard County, I was like, sign me up. I like a challenge.
I was going to say, I don't feel like you backed down at all.
No.
I think some people might have been like, that's terrifying. And you were like, I'm your girl.
It's like, I'm in. This sounds
Hold
exciting.
my purse. I got this.
Yes. It's like, I just have to tell my husband we're moving from Chicago to Florida, but that's minor detail. But it's really fascinating. So my campaign prior to this one was a $300 million campaign, which was international. So it was very challenging to do a campaign in 12 different languages where you're traveling around the world and trying to figure out cultures that are really different. And Brevard County, the more I got to know this community, they're just incredible. And the number of people that just came to us and said, how can I help? How can I help? I mean, we put a call for volunteers, and within 24 hours, we had 120 volunteers signed up, to stand on a booth, to talk about the aquarium. They're like, give me some giving points, like, give me a t-shirt, give me a hat. Like, we were going to make this happen.
This is a special place.
And it is just absolutely incredible. And I tell, our staff, every dollar counts, obviously, this is transformational. We had received very significant gifts. But, when we look at our community, like, if every individual would donate $20 a year for 5 years, we could build an aquarium. So, I tell my teams, that's $4 Starbucks, a year, that I'm like, I think it's worth the challenge. It's just like, why not? And we see this community is just coming in together, and sometimes I have pledge cards that just come in the mail that I'm like, where is this coming from? So just try to call them and say thank you. And they're like, oh, I heard my neighbor talked about the aquarium or one of your volunteers, and I just wanted to be part of it. This is just so transformational. So it takes a village to build something so incredible, and we couldn't do it without every single member of the community. So they all become philanthropists, advocate, champions. And the beauty of it is that we expanded beyond Brevard County. This became a regional project. So we do have individuals supporting us from Indian River County, from Orange County, from Volusia.
Thanks to the campaign cabinet.
Thanks to the campaign cabinet. And we recently received one of our largest gifts from a foundation that it's not even in Florida.
Oh, wow.
To fund our entire...
Good job, Linda.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just, yes. So it's just been incredible. But yes, it takes an entire community to make this happen.
Lovely. I'm going to throw it back to Linda, but before I do, I was wondering, can you share your websites if people are interested in either donating their time or advocating